Hello everyone, my name is Janina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my January wrap-up, which is a bit late, but I didn't have much time at the beginning of February because my mother was visiting me for 2 weeks, so I actually didn't get much reading done so far in February, but that's okay. That sometimes happens, and I've been watching too much anime lately anyway, so I've not been reading a lot, but whatever. It's about January, and I at least read about 4 books. Yeah, I read 4 books in January, which is okay for me still. So yeah, without further ado, let me share the books that I have read in January. The first book that I read was Seek and Storm by Lee Bardugo, which is the second book in the Grisha trilogy, and I really did not like it at all. The first part was okay-ish for me. It was alright. I still like the magic system, and I still like the world that the book sets in, but I still hate Alina so very much. I cannot connect to her at all. She is still angry all the time. I feel like she has no character, she has no character development, she has no real personality in my opinion, and I really dislike her as a main character, and I wish she had some different characteristics. I wish she was more three-dimensional. I wish she wasn't so angry all the time because she's always snapping and furious, and I can't. I just don't like her at all. I still think she has no chemistry with Maul whatsoever. I feel like they should just be better off as friends. And this kind of like ruins all of the whole series for me because she is the main character, and if I really dislike a main character, it's almost impossible for me to like the series or the book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars purely for Nikolai, because Nikolai is an amazing character. I love him. He's such a funny and great character. I adore him. I love how he is written, and for him, like, the 2 stars are purely for his existence, because like for everything else I would probably give this like 1 star, because I really did not like this book at all, and I'm so like frustrated by it that I still have to read the 3rd book. But it's okay. It's gonna be alright, because I want to read the 3rd book so I can read King of Scars, which is only about Nikolai, which is great because Nikolai is the only character I like in this series so far, and I still kind of like the Darkling. But yeah, anyway, Seek and Storm was not for me, sadly, so we will see how I will like the 3rd book, but I don't have many hopes, to be honest. The second book that I read is The Beast is an Animal by Pertinael van Ardale. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I was intrigued by this book because I like monsters in books, and I like dark kind of fairy tale settings, and I thought this book would be like that, and it is kind of like this dark fairy tale ish atmosphere. Like, it has that, but all in all it was a little bit too boring for me. It's about a girl, and I already sadly forgot her name, but we have a main character who is a girl, and she lives in a small village. Like, there's a forest nearby the village, and creatures called soul eaters live in that forest, and the whole village is kind of like scared of these creatures, and the main character feels very drawn to the forest and always goes like to the edge of the forest, or actually inside the forest, because she's very, I don't know, like very interested and very fascinated by the living things in the forest. So she kind of starts to, yeah, go out more into the forest. There's one being in the forest called the Beast, and the Beast is kind of giving her a task that she is supposed to do to like help the forest out. And by the end of the book, she sets out into this kind of adventure into the forest to try and solve this like problem that the forest has. But all in all, it was a little bit too slow paced for me. Nothing really happened much. I was hoping for more like beast action, to be honest, like more monster action, because I'm really, myself, I'm really drawn to that kind of like genre or topic in books. So I was a little bit disappointed by that. But I liked the atmosphere. It was very like dark, creepy-ish, and very nice written, but all in all, it was just too slow paced and a little bit too boring for me. So I gave it 2.75 stars out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire, and I'm sure I don't really have to like talk much about this book because I think every booktuber ever has read this and has talked about this book series. It's about a group of children who went into fantasy worlds and then came back to the like reality and now need to be reintegrated into like modern society. So they get sent into like a school where they learn to be back in like normal society without fantasy elements. And for some of the children, or for most of the children, it's really difficult to be back in like the real world and not back at their fantasy worlds, which they call their actual homes. So that's what the book is about, and I thought I'd pick it up because so many people talk about it, so many people like it. It's a really short book, so I thought, why not? And I like fantasy books in general, but sadly, this was not for me, to be honest. Like, I felt this book was really all over the place, and so many things were just thrown into where I was like, what, why? And I think it's probably because it's just a novella, so it's a really short book. I think it's like 150 pages or something. So I think it's probably because of that. So if the book was longer, I think it would have had more time to actually expand on the things that was thrown at the reader. And I felt like the bad things that are happening in the book were so out of place and not connected to kind of the whole setting of the book, like with the fantasy worlds and everything. And I was just really confused and really didn't like that very much. I don't know, I feel a lot of things were not very well thought through. I didn't connect to the characters very much. I liked one of the characters, but all in all, I didn't feel like it gave me much personally. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not sure if I will actually continue with the series. It was okay. Maybe it's something that I will pick up if I want to read something like short and like fantasy-esque. I don't know. We will see. But this one, it was meh. And then the last book that I read, because I only read 4 books, right, was Wolf Brother by Michelle Paver. And this is a prehistorical Native American fantasy middle grade book. That was a long sentence. It's about a little boy called Torak who meets a wolf cub at the beginning of the book. And throughout the book, they kind of develop this deep friendship because they can communicate with each other, and they both go on this adventure to seek out 3 different objects that will help the world that they're living in, because there is like a creeping darkness in the area or the world that they're living in. And these 3 objects that they're like looking for in the book will help to kind of seal this kind of darkness. Like I said, it's a prehistoric book, and to be honest, I'm not a big fan of these kinds of books. I don't really like prehistorical fantasy fiction. That's not my genre in general. And so I wasn't like a huge fan of this book. I really like Torak and his friendship to the wolf, which is really interesting because I like books with like animal friends. But all in all, it was okay, and I'm not sure if I will continue with this series. Probably not, because I didn't love this book. So it was alright, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And January was generally not a good reading month for me because I didn't really like all these books, which is really sad. There was not one book where I was like, oh my god, I really love this book, and that's kind of a little bit sad, but I mean, what can you do, right? That sometimes happens. So these are all the books that I read in January, and I have a tiny TBR for February. I mean, it's already like the middle of February, and February is very short, so I'm not really sure if I will be able to read this, because I've only read 1 book so far in February, because like I said, I've been watching too many anime again, so what can you do, right? My tiny TBR is I want to read Lord of the Flies, which I'm reading right now, by William Golding, which is a classic, and I wanted to read for a while. I'm reading it right now, and it's alright so far. It's really difficult for me to get into it, but I think that may be because I'm in a little bit of a reading slump because of all the bad books that I've been reading recently. I want to read Ruin and Darkness by Leigh Bardugo, which is the last book in the Grisha trilogy, which I'm really not looking forward to, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and I really want to finish this series and be done with it and just get it out of my mind and just put it very far away from me. The last book that I would like to read in February is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Because I don't know, it would be my first book by Holly Black, and it's a standalone, so I was like, why not? I don't want to get into series right now because I have such a big reading slump, so we will see how it goes. But yeah, this is all for today. 4 books I read, 3 books I want to read in February. We will see how it goes. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!